October 2nd, 2023, Unified Government KCK Landmarks Commission to order. At this point in time, I am going to would take and accept a motion for the consideration and approval or denial of the September 5th, 2023 minutes as they have been transmitted to us electronically.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve.
Mr. Chairman, this is Commissioner Welcome Hill. I second that motion, please.
Thank you. At this point, I will call for the voice vote. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed. That motion carries for the approval of the September 5th, 2023 minutes. At this point, Madam Secretary, we do have some protocols. Do you need to mention those this evening?
No, I don't need to read the statement since we do not have any applications.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. Moving on to item number 3, and that is our reports. And with us this evening is Randy Greaves, our historic preservationist, and I am turning the floor over to you. I'll share mine with you.
To start with the Downtown Historic Commercial District, we have received our initial comments back from the State Historic Preservation Office. I am in the process of making edits, filling in missing information, and correcting the applications to make it as strong as possible before it goes before the Kansas Historic Review Board in November. That is going to be taking up the majority of my time until it is done. There's quite a bit of work left to be done. Once that is done, I will move on to working on the multiple property listing that SHPO has already reviewed. And that project will have to be done next year because it'll take the rest of this year to finish the Downtown Historic District. As for the Main Street program, I am meeting every week with downtown shareholders to assist them with filling out and submitting their application to Kansas Main Street. We're about halfway through it at the moment. It's going by pretty quickly. So we hope to turn that in before the deadline at the end of this year. And we should know by next March whether or not we have been accepted as a Main Street program. Sauer Castle, I recently had a presentation about the history of Sauer Castle at the South Branch Library. I focused mostly on the architecture, historic preservation, and the ongoing historic preservation efforts through the Plan KCK process. According to the librarians who were so kind to host us, we reached over 1,100 people with 300 people attending live. It was a huge success and it was a wonderful opportunity. Lots of people had questions and I've had a lot of people reaching out to me since then with interest in historic preservation. So we're going to continue the push on outreach. We are starting to really see some positive results and a lot of excitement. This month, I have completed 3 administrative reviews, and the consultants have submitted their draft State of the City report, which we are reading through and editing, looking for any typos, errors, getting any questions we have answered to ensure that this is a useful document to us. I can say so far through my first read through, it is a wonderfully written document. It's 70 pages long. It is very intensive and expansive, and it covers all of our historic sites. It covers the different laws, both local, state, and federal, that pertain to historic preservation, highlights resources, and highlights some areas that we will probably need to take a closer look at in the future. I'm excited to see the rest of their work as we close out the Plan KCK process, which is still in full swing. We're still taking feedback from the public and working hard. There's a lot of outreach events coming up in the near future. You can learn more at yco.org/plankck.
Does that conclude your comments?
That concludes my reports.
All right, I believe Commissioner Schrader has a question or comment to make.
Yeah, Mr. Greaves, I just was curious, when will commission members be able to see anything from the consultant?
Randy Greaves, historic preservationist. I will have to check and see. I will certainly send you the final document of the state of the city report once it is completed. I'll see if I can send you the draft as well.
Further question, will that be the only receivable from the consultant, or will there be follow-on receivables after that?
Randy Greaves, historic preservationist. There will be more deliverables at the end of the process, which will include a full fleshed out historic preservation plan, the first one that this county will have ever received.
Good, thank you.
Do I have any other questions for Mr. Greaves? I don't see any at this point.
Oh, Mr. I do, this is to
Okay,
Schrader.
Commissioner Schrader?
One of the items in the minutes that we approved was report on status of Quindaro. And I was wondering if you had any chance to interface with any of the other UG people working on the latest Quindaro things.
This is Randy Greaves, historic preservationist. I am still attempting to join the task force about the ruins. I have also made an effort to reach out to stakeholders to try and begin to facilitate a conversation surrounding the ruins. I am aware that an organization out of Lawrence, Kansas called Freedom Frontier is under contract through the National Park Service to write a National Historic Landmark nomination for the ruins. This is a higher tier historic nomination than that of the National Register that we know and love so well. In the state of Kansas, only 26 sites are National Historic Landmarks, and in Wyandotte County, only Huron Park meets that honor. So in this process, I'm trying to coordinate with Freedom Frontier and the National Park Service and try to get everybody into the same room having the same conversation. So far, I have not had many results, but I will keep working tirelessly on trying to make some progress. The ruins will also be a major part of the historic preservation plan, outlining what we need to do and how to best do it, since this is such an important site historically and culturally.
Thank you for that report, Mr. Greaves.
I have another follow-up,
As,
Mr. Chairman.
yes,
So would you repeat for me, is the State Historic Preservation Office involved with this so far, or they're not? It's all national at this point.
It seems to be national at this point. The State Historic Preservation Office will get involved. There's a handful of scenarios in which they could get involved. But right now, things are just so scattered that nothing's consolidated yet. So they might need to be a party that needs to be brought into the fold. I really don't know enough yet about the
Okay,
situation.
if you have an opportunity to speak with the SHPO, make sure that they know everything you know, so that maybe they can also advocate for the things that you're advocating for.
Yes, sir, I will. Thank you.
thank you, Mr. Greaves. A couple of comments here. One is on the Sour Castle presentation, which I did attend, and it went over very, very well. There were a lot of questions, as Randy stated at the end of it. There was a lot of interaction between the audience themselves. There was a lot of interaction between Mr. Greaves. There was interaction with myself and interaction with former presidents of the Historical Society. It was a fabulous meeting, but one of the things that I got from at the end was from the library itself, which offered the invitation to this commission to present anytime we wished. They were overjoyed with the presentation. And if we have topics that we wish to discuss like that, they are more than willing to facilitate it for us. The second item, the comments that I have, yes, it's on Quindaro. And I'm just going to be blunt as chairman. We have a factor involved here, and our commission will have to deal with it as well as Mr. Greaves. For decades, Quindaro has been various factions in many areas over that site, very opinionated, and there is one word that is lacking, and that begins with a T and ends with a T, and that is trust. For anything to happen, we are going to have to establish the feeling of trust between all parties, or we are not going to be able to get anything accomplished to our benefit here. Thirdly, I'm glad to see everyone here and the work that Randy has been doing. The one question that I have for you, Randy, in these terms, I know when we signed the new agreement with SHPO, you warned us that we would have more work to do. Can you give us a little bit of clue here on what you have been accomplishing and what we really are looking forward to?
Randy Greaves is for preservationist. So the more work you're going to be expecting has to do with the state law reviews. We are constantly learning more about how the state law reviews interact with our own local ordinance. Recently, we learned that I was treating a lot of properties to C of A reviews that should have only had state law reviews. So we're still not 100% certain about what gets reviewed how, and we're still working through the processes and learning and finalizing how to do that. There is no remaining documentation that I know of from when we used to be able to do our own state law reviews. I don't even know if SHPO did them the way they do now when we used to have that right. So you should be expecting, in essence, similar reports to what I give for the C of A, but the only question you're trying to answer is whether or not the proposed work damages or destroys the historic integrity of a building. I think that the hardest part of this process will be ensuring that we keep that in mind separate from our C of As. In many cases, should have both the C of A and a state law review, in which you will have to answer the question posed to you in two different ways of should this be accepted, and then why or why not. I do anticipate instances in which a state law review is accepted, but our own C of A is denied, as the C of A is a little bit more of a powerful review, a little bit more in depth, and it answers a wider variety of questions that pertain to historic preservation.
Thank you, sir. I just kind of wanted that because I really kind of want to keep all the commissioners up to date as to what's going on so that there's not a great big pill that everyone has to swallow all at one time. Okay. Yes, Brandon.
We should see our first state law review before this commission next month.
All right. Thank you, sir. Right. If that concludes your reports, then I will move on to our outreach committee and our subcommittee chairman, Mr. Schrader. Mr. Schrader.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Our committee has not met, but I do have one outreach thing that I do want to report. Thanks to Mr. Greaves and one of the former Landmark Commission members, Rick Yarnell, I have been nominated as a finalist for our Historic Kansas City Preservation Award. There's going to be an event this Thursday, the 5th of October, over town. And there are seats available for attending. The good thing, I had no idea that Randy was doing this. The main thing is it's going to put some focus on preservation efforts in Kansas City, Kansas for a change with the Historic Kansas City organization, partly due to the lack of participation, I guess I would say, from the Kansas side. The Historic Kansas City Foundation, which is a metro-wide organization, is almost exclusively focused most of the time in Missouri. So it will be good to get some focus on the preservation efforts here in Kansas City, Kansas. So I do have some seats that they've offered to me that are available for the event on Thursday evening. So if there's any member of the commission who would be interested in attending, please reach out to me or Randy, and we can figure that out. So, but anyway, it's always good to get some recognition for KCK, and so I did want to mention that. So,
Well, congratulations. It's well earned. And
thank you. But
and I love to hear that. All right. We'll move on to item number 4, which is new business and on the delisting of demolished historic buildings. And I'll turn the floor back over to Randy again.
This is Randy Greaves, historic preservationist. As you may well know, we have several buildings in our city that have been listed on the Kansas City, Kansas Register of Historic Places. And honestly, some of them might still be on the state or national registers that have since been demolished, including one that we have locally listed that is to be demolished in the 7th Street Methodist Church. These buildings are the Matthias Split Log House, the Elks Club, Reynolds Block, and St. John the Divine. Currently, those listings and all the reviews that come with them and surround them are still in place, which means I am doing reviews on buildings that no longer exist. There is no longer history to protect. It's been lost. What I would like to do is formalize a delisting process and create a register of demolished historic buildings to place online on the historic preservation webpage for the public to access in order to preserve the memories of these buildings. One example of this building that is not listed but was in the environs was I've forgotten the name of the house. A building was torn down by a local business. There was a home that was considered to be eligible for historic status, and we had requested that the business owners create a plaque commemorating the memory of the person who lived there. Upon further research, the house was the last remaining piece of history to that person. No, I couldn't find any other information about who they were, where they came from, what they did, or why that building was historic. I also think that we should list buildings that should have been nominated for the registers. One that comes to mind was the Dewar building, the Grund Hotel, beautiful buildings that we have lost and examples of our built environment that are no longer around. But the main center issue here is the delisting of historic buildings or demolish historic buildings. Do you have any questions?
Thank you, Randy. Again, Commissioner Schrader.
I just have a question about what authorization do you need to start this process? I think it's commendable, and I remember at least the Split Log House and St. John the Divine requests that came from the state regarding could they delist them from the state register? I can't remember how that came about. I mean, I don't know how that ended up, but apparently the state was wanting to delist from their state register. So I just am, what do you need from us to make sure this can happen? I certainly think the listing on our website would be very good with some links to whatever information we do have. Yeah, I'm just, what would you like to see this commission do?
Randy Grease, historic preservationist. It is common practice for buildings that have been demolished or severely destroyed or altered beyond recognition to be delisted from the national and state registers, which is why we do those reviews to make sure that the alterations to a building are not so much that they remove all historic integrity. I am seeking the guidance of Landmarks Commission and what you think should be our practice moving forward. As these are our historic sites, it is up to us. And since I operate at your pleasure, up to you to decide whether or not we should remove them or continue to keep them listed to preserve their history that way.
Thank you, Randy. This is Chairman Meditz here. I've got a couple of comments here. One is in terms of a directive to my fellow commissioners. I want you to strongly consider this and what Randy has stated, and please pass along through emails, written correspondence, etc., to Randy what your feelings are in this and what your outlook is that we need to do. Because as I said before, this is no longer a reactive commission. We are proactive, and I consider this a proactive move on our part. That being said, Randy, is what legal, so to say, aspects will we have to be considering? In other words, is this going to be established within the realm of ordinances, et cetera, procedures, or is this something else we need to give thought to? Or do we need to get our legal team involved for opinions there?
Randy Grease, historic preservationist. If this commission decides that we should move forward with exploring the process of delisting our local landmarks that have been demolished through human action or environmental damage, we will have to find out, because from my readings of the ordinance, I do not recall seeing a process in place. It could be as simple as the commission just votes on it, and then we remove it from our maps and we remove it from our system, so it no longer comes up as historic, and the review process no longer needs to be carried out for these buildings. And then at which point I would also update the lists we provide online of our historic properties, leave the building. Yes, I would remove it from that list and add it to the in memoriam, if you will, part of the website dedicated to these lost historic resources.
Okay, in those terms, here again, this is Commissioner Metters here. I think we might be wise to ask possibly Lawrence, Topeka, because they've had to deal with these instances in their downtown aspects. The other thing that I would be concerned about is that we deal with the past, but we have to look to the future. Is we don't want a process that is so easily done, conveniently done, that someone 5 years, 6 years from now decides they want a big department store or a car dealership or something, has the ability to, I hate to say it, backdoor us and get the delisting happen, which then allows for demolition without us being involved. That's just kind of my thought that I put out here, and consider that. At this point, I think Commissioner Schrader has a question.
I would give the floor back to Commissioner Welcome Hill.
Commissioner Hill. Welcome.
Yes,
Hill.
sir. Thank you. My question, I guess, for staff or for legal, would this be something that is strictly a in-house issue to resolve, or is there some way we can form a subcommittee within the Landmarks Commission to assist with this, perhaps?
That is a good thought there, Commissioner Welcome Hill. This is something I might discuss between, as chairman, with Mr. Greaves, and kind of get an opinion and let you guys mull that over and get your comments back to me. I believe that Commissioner Chamberlain has a question or a comment.
Well, I'd like to, I don't care what form it takes, but I would like at this point to have at least a couple of commissioners and Mr. Greaves and someone from legal, after there's been input from the whole commission, sit down and try to draft some kind of a proposal that could be considered by the commission and maybe the council. I don't know what's required or what approvals are required at this point, but we need to explore that, and then somebody drafts some language that we could adopt.
Thank you. That's a very good comment. Commissioner Schrader, you had an additional comment? No, he doesn't at this point. I think we must answer his question there. All right. Are there any other further questions for anyone? Mr. Greaves, comment.
This is Randy Greaves, historic preservationist. I appreciate all your input. Thank you. So in that case, my next steps will be to meet with our ordinance specialist, Michael Farley, and see if he can provide any information of what needs to be done. And I will reach out to the commission and try to form a subcommittee of sorts to continue this discussion and figure out what our best path forward will be.
That sounds very good to me. Let me know what I can do to assist you. One further comment that it just kind of registered with me because of the split log house. If we get this accomplished and start this process, we may need to go back to previous minutes and do some hefty researching, because on the split log house, I think when demolition was approved, the CA, and there was some kind of addition or requirement that this commission put in there. I don't remember exactly what it was. It needs to be researched, but in my mind, I don't know that it ever was accomplished. So we may need to do some further research on these informer minutes. That's just a thought and a comment for you, sir. All right, we're going to go and move on. Our next meeting will be Monday, November 6th, 2023 at 6 p.m. But before I entertain a motion for adjournment, your chairman would like his fellow commissioners, anyone in attendance at this meeting tonight, to please take knowledge of this, acknowledge and thoughts. Our positions on this Landmarks Commission are tied to our appointments by commissioners and the mayor. Our elected commissioners appoint us, and we are tied to their term. So I'm leaving it in my commissioners' hands here. You all know who appointed you. If they are up for re-election, they do need to reappoint you if they are reelected. If not, then they need to replace you. But on the other hand, I will have to get to anyone newly elected to remind them that they need to appoint our fellow commissioners seats, fill these so we can conduct our business. Thirdly, I'm going to ask everyone here. I do know that there have been at least 2 names submitted to occupy open seats on this commission. Thank you, Commissioner Schrader. Thank you, Commissioner Easterwood, for working on these individuals. Unfortunately, we are so close to the election that our elected commissioners did not feel it was appropriate to fill those seats at this time, and we've had to leave them vacant, which has hindered our operations a little bit. So please keep those comments in mind. If you're wanting to continue to serve and you have a commissioner that is going to be or will be reelected, please get with them and inform them that you do want to continue serving and appreciate the opportunity to do it. If you do not wish to continue, please let them know, let me know, so we can make sure that we have an operating, functioning commission. Anyone else that you might have that you know that might like to serve, get their name to me, to our Secretary Parker, to our historic preservationist, or my vice chair. I will do my best to get them on board or get them through the process. The one thing that I do need, and I will state we need it as a commission, we need it as a government, I need someone of the financial realm. That is a requirement for this commission. So if you know someone that is in finance, banking, etc., please get that name to me so we are fully functional. Thank you one and all, ladies and gentlemen, for the honor that I have of serving with you. In that, I would entertain a motion for adjournment.
So move, Commissioner Schrader.
Forgot I was on mute. A second.
I've got a number of seconds here and a motion by Commissioner Schrader. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We are now adjourned till our November meeting. Thank you, one and all. Thank you, Madam Secretary.
Thank you.